Marcus had not slept in 3 days, not because he could not, because every time he closed his eyes, the thoughts came flooding back. What if I'm making the wrong choice? What if I regret this forever? What if everyone thinks I'm an idiot? He had been staring at the same job offer for 72 hours, 2 companies, both good, both terrifying. His phone was full of pros and cons lists, voice memos to himself at 3 a.m., frantic texts to friends asking the same question in 15 different ways. Which one is right? But here's the thing. Nobody tells you about overthinking. The more you think, the stupider you become. Marcus had read every Reddit thread, watched every YouTube video on career decisions. He'd made spreadsheets, he'd journaled, he'd even, God help him, pulled a tarot card. And he was more confused than when he started. His girlfriend finally found him on the bathroom floor at 4 a.m., laptop open, 17 browser tabs glowing, eyes red and hollow. "What are you doing?" she whispered. "Thinking," he said. "No," she corrected quietly. "You're drowning." She was right. Marcus had confused motion for progress. He thought if he just analyzed one more variable, considered one more perspective, played out one more scenario, he'd finally find certainty. But certainty never came, because Marcus didn't have a thinking problem. He had a thinking system problem. And if you have ever laid awake at night, paralyzed by your own mind, replaying the same conversation, the same decision, the same fear over and over, until you can't tell the difference between clarity and insanity, then you already know. Your brain isn't helping you, it's sabotaging you. Here's the cruel irony. The people who suffer most from overthinking are usually the ones who think best, not because they're broken, because they're capable of seeing too much. You can hold multiple perspectives at once. You can imagine 10 different futures from a single choice. You can feel the weight of consequences before they even exist. Most people call this intelligence. But intelligence without direction isn't wisdom. It's paralysis dressed up as preparation. The smarter you are, the more variables you see. The more variables you see, the more reasons you find to doubt yourself. And doubt, when left unchecked, doesn't make you careful. It makes you a prisoner. You've been told your whole life that thinking deeply is a gift. And it is. But no one warned you that the same mind that can solve complex problems can also trap you in labyrinths of your own creation. Because here's what they don't teach you. Thinking more doesn't mean thinking better. Overthinking is an analysis. It's an analysis without an off switch. It's your mind running in circles, burning energy, producing nothing but exhaustion. You're not weak for feeling this way. Your mind is powerful, just pointed in the wrong direction. The tool isn't broken. You just need to learn how to actually use it. Let me show you where it all falls apart. Someone doesn't text you back for 3 hours. What does your mind do? It doesn't wait. It doesn't pause. It fills the silence. Maybe they're angry. Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe they're pulling away. Maybe this is the beginning of the end. Your partner comes home quiet, not cold, just quiet. And your mind doesn't ask, it decides. They're upset with me. I did something. They're rethinking this whole thing. I can feel it. You're 2 years into your career, and suddenly you're lying awake at 2 a.m., wondering if you've wasted your entire life on the wrong path. Not because anything went wrong, just because your mind found a gap and filled it with dread. This is what overthinking actually is. Imagination without constraints. Your brain is designed to fill gaps, to predict, to prepare, to protect you from danger by simulating every possible threat before it arrives. But here's the problem. Your brain can't tell the difference between real danger and imagined danger, so it treats silence like rejection, quietness like anger, uncertainty like failure. It runs defense 24/7, building worst-case scenarios out of nothing, because evolution rewarded the anxious, not the calm. Overthinking is your mind in defensive mode, protecting you from ghosts. Critical thinking is your mind in offensive mode, building clarity from chaos. One is survival. The other is mastery. And the difference between them isn't intelligence, it's discipline. So, what's the way out? Not more thinking, not better thinking. A tool, because the difference between Marcus drowning on that bathroom floor and Marcus making a clear decision isn't willpower. It's not confidence. It's not some mystical ability to trust his gut. It's structure. Critical thinking isn't about thinking harder. It's about thinking with boundaries. It's the difference between a river and a flood. Both are water. But one has direction, and the other just destroys everything in its path. Your mind is that river, powerful, capable. But without banks to guide it, it just spills out into anxiety, second-guessing, and endless loops of what if. Critical thinking gives your mind those banks. It's a framework, a razor, a mechanism that cuts through the noise and tells you, this thought serves you, this one doesn't. Keep this. Discard that. It's not magic. It's not even particularly complicated. It's just a tool you were never taught to use. And the moment you learn it, the moment you realize your mind doesn't have to run wild, that you can guide it instead of being dragged by it, everything changes. Not because you became smarter, because you finally learned how to think like someone who's free. Let me show you how this works in real time. Sarah sends her boss a project proposal on Monday morning. By Monday afternoon, she hasn't heard back. By Tuesday, she's convinced something's wrong. Maybe it wasn't good enough. Maybe I missed something obvious. Maybe he's disappointed and doesn't know how to tell me. By Wednesday, she's rewriting the entire thing in her head, finding flaws that might not even exist, imagining his judgment, rehearsing defensive explanations for questions he hasn't asked. By Thursday, she's barely sleeping. She's scanning his replies to other emails, looking for tone shifts. She's replaying their last conversation, searching for signs she missed. And by Friday morning, when he finally responds with, "Looks good, let's discuss Monday," she's already destroyed herself over nothing. This is the spiral. And here's what makes it so vicious. Sarah didn't just think about the problem, she became the problem. She built an entire internal narrative, assigned intent, created evidence, constructed an enemy, all inside her own mind. Her boss wasn't ignoring her. He was just busy. But her mind couldn't accept silence. So it filled the gap with fear. Now, here's the tool that stops this cold. The simplest explanation is usually the right one, not the most dramatic, not the one that confirms your insecurities, the simplest. He didn't respond because he was busy, not because you failed. She didn't text back because she's overwhelmed today, not because she's done with you. You feel stuck in your career because growth is slow and non-linear, not because you chose wrong. This is Occam's razor, and it's the first cut. When your mind starts building castles out of silence, ask yourself, what's the simplest explanation here? That one question, applied ruthlessly, can save you from drowning in your own imagination. Here's the first principle you need burned into your operating system. Start with what's simple, not what's scary. Your mind, left to itself, will always choose the explanation that feels most true, which usually means the one that confirms your deepest insecurities. But feelings aren't facts, and fear isn't evidence. So before you spiral, before you assign meaning to silence or build entire narratives around a single glance, ask yourself this: what's the simplest explanation based only on what I actually know? Not what you fear, not what you assume, what you know. Your partner didn't text back for 4 hours. Your mind says, they're pulling away. This is the beginning of the end. I'm losing them. The razor says, they're at work. Their phone died. They're in a meeting. They got distracted. Which is more likely? Which requires fewer assumptions. Your boss didn't respond to your email for 2 days. Your mind says, they hated it. I'm getting fired. I'm not good enough for this role. The razor says they're buried in meetings. They have 200 unread emails. They'll get to it when they can. Which is more likely? Your friend has been distant for a week. Your mind says, I did something wrong. They're done with me. I'm being replaced. The razor says they're dealing with something personal. They're overwhelmed. They're in their own head. Which is more likely? See the pattern? Your mind gravitates toward complexity, drama, and self-blame, because that's what anxiety does. It turns silence into evidence, absence into rejection, delay into abandonment. But most of the time, people aren't thinking about you at all, not because they don't care, but because they're navigating their own chaos. The simplest explanation strips away the story your fear is writing. It doesn't mean you're always right. It means you're starting from reality instead of imagination. And that one shift, choosing simplicity over speculation, can stop the spiral before it even starts. This is the razor of reality. Use it first, always. Here's the second cut. And this one hurts more because it forces you to be honest with yourself. Big claims need big evidence. Not feelings, not vibes, not the way something seemed when you replayed it in your head 17 times. Evidence. You think they hate you? Show me the evidence. Not, they seemed cold. Not, they didn't laugh at my joke. Not, I just feel like they do. Show me the actual words, the clear behavior, the undeniable pattern. You think you're going to fail? Based on what? Not your anxiety. Not the voice in your head that's been wrong 1,000 times before. Not the fact that it feels overwhelming. Based on what measurable reality? You think everyone thinks you're stupid. Who? When? What did they say specifically? Or is this just your mind taking one awkward moment, one misunderstood comment, one thing you wish you'd said differently, and turning it into a universal verdict? Here's the truth you need to hear. Your feelings are real. Your pain is valid. But your feelings are not evidence of external reality. They're evidence of your internal reality, the stories you tell yourself, the fears you've been carrying, the wounds that haven't healed. And the problem with overthinking is it treats those feelings like facts. It takes, I feel like they're upset with me, and transforms it into, they're definitely upset with me, without ever checking if that's actually true. So, before you convict yourself, before you burn a relationship down in your mind, before you quit something you love because you're convinced you're failing, ask yourself, what evidence do I actually have? Not hunches, not interpretations, not the narrative your anxiety is writing. Cold, clear, undeniable evidence. If you can't find it, maybe, just maybe, the problem isn't out there. It's the story you're telling yourself in here. Now, here's the tool that actually saves you when you're in the middle of it, when the spiral has already started, and you need a way out right now. You don't need more information. You don't need more time to think. You need 4 questions that cut straight through the fog. 1. What do I know? Not suspect, not sense, not feel in your gut. What do I know with absolute certainty? Facts only. No interpretation. No reading between lines that might not even exist. She didn't text back. That's what you know. Everything else, she's mad, she's done, she's pulling away, that's not knowledge. That's fiction. 2. What am I assuming? This is where you catch yourself building a case out of nothing. Write it down if you have to. Make a list. Separate the facts from the story you're telling about the facts. Most of your suffering lives in this gap between what happened and what you've decided it means. 3. What am I actually afraid of? Because here's the truth, you're not overthinking the situation. You're overthinking what the situation says about you. You're not afraid of the wrong career choice. You're afraid of being someone who wastes their potential. You're not afraid they'll leave. You're afraid you're the kind of person people leave. Name it. Drag it into the light. 4. What can I test? This is the question that ends the spiral. If you think someone's upset, ask them. If you think you're failing, look at the actual data, not your feelings. If you're convinced you made the wrong choice, set a timeline. Give yourself 3 months. Reassess with evidence, not anxiety. Most of what you're overthinking isn't actually unknowable. You're just treating it like it is. The moment you realize you can test it, check it, verify it, turn it into an experiment instead of an endless internal debate, you're not drowning anymore. You're standing on solid ground. 4 questions, 1 way out. Memorize them. Use them ruthlessly. They're the only thing standing between you and the next 3 sleepless nights. Now let me tell you why this is so hard to let go of. Why even after you know overthinking destroys you, you still do it. Because overthinking feels like progress. It feels like you're doing something, like you're being responsible, like you're preparing, protecting yourself, staying ahead of disaster. But here's what it actually is. Overthinking is how you avoid deciding. As long as you're still thinking, you don't have to act. And as long as you don't act, you can't fail. You can't choose wrong. You can't be rejected. You can't discover you're not as capable as you thought. Overthinking keeps you in motion without ever moving forward. It's the illusion of control in a world that refuses to be controlled. And your ego loves this. Because the moment you stop overthinking and start using actual critical thinking, the moment you make a decision based on evidence and commit to it, you become accountable. You have to own the outcome. You have to face the possibility that you were wrong, that you missed something, that you're not as smart or as prepared as you wanted to believe. That's terrifying. So instead, you stay in the loop. You keep analyzing. You keep gathering opinions, making lists, running scenarios, not because you need more information, but because you need more time before the world can prove you're fallible. But here's the truth you already know. You're not protecting yourself from failure by overthinking. You're just failing slower. Critical thinking demands something overthinking. Never will, courage. The courage to say, this is what I know. This is my best judgment. I'm moving forward. And yes, maybe you'll be wrong, but at least you'll be free. Here's the shift that changes everything. And it's going to hurt your ego a little. You ready? You're not trying to be right. You're trying to be less wrong. That's it. That's the game. Not perfection, not certainty, not some flawless decision that proves you're smart, capable, and worthy. Just less wrong than you were yesterday. And this is where most overthinkers break, because they've been playing the wrong game their entire lives. They think the goal is to never be wrong. To analyze every angle until they find the one perfect choice that guarantees success, validation, safety. But that choice doesn't exist, and chasing it is what keeps you paralyzed. Because here's the truth, every decision you make is a guess. An educated guess maybe, a well-reasoned guess, but still a guess. You don't have all the information. You can't predict the future. You can't control how other people will respond, or how circumstances will shift. All you can do is make the best call with what you know right now, and be willing to adjust when you learn more. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Critical thinkers don't expect themselves to be perfect. They expect themselves to be adaptable. They make a decision. They test it. They learn. They course correct. They're not afraid of being wrong because being wrong isn't an identity. It's just information. But for overthinkers, being wrong feels like proof that you're broken, that you're not smart enough, not careful enough, not enough, so you stay stuck, thinking, preparing, protecting yourself from the unbearable weight of your own fallibility. But you're not broken, you're just human. And humans get things wrong. A lot. The goal isn't to avoid that, it's to stop letting it destroy you. Let me take you back to Marcus for a second. Remember him? Bathroom floor, 17 tabs. Eyes hollow, drowning in his own mind. Here's what happened after that night. He didn't suddenly become certain. He didn't unlock some magical confidence that made every decision easy. But he did something different. When the overthinking started, when his mind tried to pull him back into the spiral, he asked the 4 questions. What do I know? What am I assuming? What am I afraid of? What can I test? He realized he didn't actually need more information. He needed to stop treating uncertainty like danger. So, he chose. Not perfectly, not with absolute confidence. He just chose. He took the job that aligned more with what he knew about himself, not what he feared about the future. And here's the thing, he still had doubts. He still wondered sometimes if he'd made the right call, but he wasn't paralyzed anymore. He wasn't spending his nights building alternate realities in his head, mourning choices he hadn't even made yet. He was present. He was moving. He was living, instead of simulating. That's what this gives you, not certainty, not perfection. Just the ability to make a decision and keep walking, to trust that even if you're wrong, you'll figure it out. You'll adjust. You'll survive. Because that's what critical thinking actually is, the confidence that you can handle being wrong. You're not trying to become someone who never makes mistakes. You're becoming someone who isn't destroyed by them. Someone who thinks clearly, decides quickly, and moves forward without carrying the weight of every possible future on their back. You're not trying to be smarter. You're trying to be free. Here's the truth you can actually live with. You will never have all the answers. You will never eliminate uncertainty. You will never think your way into perfect safety. But you can learn to act anyway, not recklessly, not blindly, but clearly, through principles, tools, and discipline, through the ability to separate what's real from what your fear invents. You don't need to know everything. You just need to know enough to send the message, enough to make the decision, enough to stop treating every fork in the road like it will define your destiny. Because most decisions don't. Most choices are simply choices. Paths you can walk, revisit, or adjust. They are not verdicts on your value as a human being. Critical thinking won't promise that you'll never be wrong. It promises something infinitely more powerful. You will stop being afraid of being wrong. That freedom from the weight of your own mind, is worth more than certainty ever could be. So, stop drowning in every imagined disaster. Start cutting through them. The fog does not disappear on its own, but you can walk forward anyway. If this helped you see your mind a little more clearly, there's more where this came from. Next, we're diving into why intelligent people self-sabotage and how to stop mistaking self-destruction for self-awareness. It's the kind of thing no one talks about, but everyone quietly struggles with. I'll see you there, and thank you for thinking with me today.